There's a new debate raging in the social media streets among New York Jet fans. We'll explore. Plus, a bet was cashed in yesterday, and all of us are going to get to enjoy it. Let's roll, baby. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever seen.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Lesnan Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We are here on Thursday, September 21st, and Week 3 officially starts later tonight when the New York Giants play the San Francisco 49ers. That should be juicy. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show live every single day at 7:30 in the morning, streaming live on the Heavy on Jets Facebook page, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and on Twitter as well. Also, for all you audio-only listeners, by simply searching for Boy Green Daily, you can also listen to the audio-only version of this podcast if you prefer. Before we get into a fun show, which we have an interesting debate that's been raging in the social media streets, I wanted to save this one for the proper time. But before we get there, I have to throw this up on the screen. Guys, for those of you who missed it, yeah, let's get this on the screen right now. Phenomenal. Here's some coverage. For those who are only listening, you'll have to go to my Twitter account. So there's a picture on the screen. This is a tweet. There is a picture of me on the left and on the right, if you're viewing this photo, of my intern. And I just have to say, phenomenal. We made a week 1 bet for the New York Jets Buffalo Bills game. And this intern said, hey, he's a Bills fan. Obviously, I'm a Jets guy. He said, hey, if the Jets, beat the Bills, I'll dye my hair pink. If the Bills beat the Jets in week 1, you dye your hair pink, pal. And I'm like, oh, boy. Okay, we were on air when he presented me this bet. I'm like, you know what? Fine. Let's go. I'm like, I'm a man. My mama didn't raise no quitter. I'm in, baby. And then, obviously, 4 plays in, Aaron Rodgers goes down. I can feel like my intern going, ha, ha, ha. You're going to lose Aaron Rodgers and have pink hair. But no, I'm still Boy Green, baby. He's the one who's Boy Pink. So look at that. There he is. Let's throw up Ty Butler's here with us of ESPN 98.7. Ty, what do you make of this? This is my intern Eddie at the radio show. He used to hold the job you used to hold as being an intern at the radio station, and he cashed in yesterday. He's got pink hair because of the Bills losing to the Jets week 1. What do you make of this?
Now, I would be fascinated to see what you would look like with pink hair.
Oh, boy.
But my biggest takeaway from this is, did you bet anybody in week 2 against the Cowboys?
I did not, thankfully. So my hair and follicles remain the same color that it was coming out. Yeah.
Thankfully, it means that the Jets are 1-0 when you bet someone. So maybe this week you should engage in some type of a wager with somebody.
I'm looking forward to it because, let's start off there before we even get to the theme of the show, Ty, because we only get a chance to speak to each other once a week. What's the confidence level heading in here? Because we all know the stats, but I'll repeat them until I hopefully never have to repeat them again, which is 14 in a row for the Patriots, 22 of the last 24. The Jets have not beaten the Patriots within 60 minutes of play since the year 2011, which was the last time the Jets were in playoff during the 2010 season. With all of that hoopla going on, does that even matter as we head into this one from a confidence standpoint, whether or not the Jets can actually beat the Patriots here on Sunday and send their ass to 0-3?
And, it's 8 different quarterbacks they've had during this 14-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Luke Falk and Joe Flacco and Bryce Petty and, McCown and Zach Wilson is now going to be starting, and he's 0-2 against the Patriots. So coming into the season, why we felt so good was because you had an upgraded quarterback. And it's like during the streak, they haven't seen Aaron Rodgers. So now you're right back to where you were last season with Zach Wilson. And, young quarterbacks struggle against the Patriots. The level of concern is at a 10 because of what we saw.
Okay, that's pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, because the offensive line is still a mess. We saw that against the Cowboys, and the Patriots defense, though might not be as good as Dallas, still is very good as we've seen, the past couple of weeks. I think what you have to hang your hat on is that this is going to be the worst offense the Jets have played so far to start the season, and there are going to be some turnovers to be had. Mac Jones, the numbers say that he's completing passes at a high percentage, that he's
Hmm.
up there in completions and up there in passing yards. But when you watch the Pats against the Eagles in the last week against the Dolphins, they're playing catch up. They were down 16-0. They were down 10-0. So this team is not very good. Now maybe the Jets aren't very good as well. It'll be a battle of two not very good teams, and maybe it comes down to coaching, which you don't love. But I think they can win this game if Zach protects the ball, which is a big if.
Yeah, certainly, because he has 22 career interceptions, 7 of which have come against the New England Patriots. So that's a healthy 31%, if my math is right there. That not ideal, not ideal. Let's throw this up on the board. We'll get away from Jets Patriots for a second because I saw this on a national show, and shame on me for not writing it down immediately. But the thought went in my head when they said it might have been the Rich Eisen show. But they were discussing the potential of like people saying, "Oh, Zach Wilson doesn't look great." These other people saying this, like maybe the Jets should get an upgrade, like an upgrade by giving up a future first. Now, I will say whether or not the first is up for grabs now in 2024 because the Aaron Rodgers thing has been kind of people are on both sides. ESPN has reported that they believe it would be. Other places said it wouldn't be. Regardless, some future first round capital, whether it was in 2024 or 2025, whether they would give that up to get an upgrade right now because this roster has all this talent and you just got to take advantage of it. And if you don't believe Zach Wilson can do so, would you be willing to go get one of those guys? And we made that our poll of the day, which, by the way, is linked below as well. We have over 2,000 votes on this thing, so I appreciate everybody. And people right now are saying 70% of that are way too pricey. They're not willing to pay that for a rental, especially with the idea that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. And the two names I'll throw at you, Ty, before I throw this over to you, that people are floating out there are Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings and Matthew Stafford of the Rams, hoping that in some sense, in a couple of weeks before the trade deadline, the Vikings are out of it, and in theory, the Rams are out of it, and maybe they would say, all right, F it, let's trade these guys for draft capital. With all that being said, are you in or out on that thing that's been floating out there?
I have to say I'm in on it.
Wow.
So Kirk Cousins, everyone's going to
Mhm.
bring up 12 and 21 in prime time, and the Jets have 5 more primetime games. So it's not exactly exactly satiating anyone's appetite in that regard. But what
Sure.
I would
Yeah.
remind people is that Kirk Cousins now has 7 seasons where he would be the Jets' all-time leader in passing yards. He now has 2 years where he's thrown for 35 and 33 respectively, where he would be their all-time leader in touchdowns. As far as a single season. And Matt Stafford, yes, a couple years removed from a Super Bowl, had the elbow injury last year. Looks good so far to start the season. So you're just looking at two teams that, in theory, could be looking to punt because the Vikings, you look at their first 7 games, 2-5 on the table. The Rams, like we didn't expect them to be, competitive. They were tied at halftime against the Niners. I don't think Sean McVay is going to be interested in that. But I will say this, like everyone talks about championship windows, right? Because you look at a young team with a young defense and, special teams, Xavier Gibson. You look at the offense, some young guys with Garrett Wilson. But, like in the NFL, there's a reason why you strike when the iron's hot. Because your young guys become so good that they outprice you. And now you've got to find a way to, like, the Bengals are going to go through this with T. Higgins. He's not going to get paid. But, you see these stars emerge, and now you got to pay them. You see injuries happen, and, that's something you can't account for. Those windows don't stay open for as long as you think they do, which is why you've seen this trend with teams and how it's worked with trying to capitalize on a quarterback on a rookie contract and then going out there to get the complementary pieces around him because, eventually you're going to have to pay your quarterback. The Jets are in a situation where, Rodgers did take a discount. But at some point, these guys on the team are going to be looking to get paid. Quentin Williams just got paid, so I would be down to part with a future first round pick for Stafford. Like Kirk Cousins to me doesn't get you a Super Bowl, so I'd be a little bit hesitant in that regard. But a future first for Matt Stafford, I don't know, man. I might have to do it just because this team could be ready to win right now, and you don't know how long you have.
That's true. First off, I just have to say, Ty, you're just so gosh darn eloquently spoken. You just, you just, I like the cut of your jib, pal. You just got a nice vernacular about you that looks nice. And then people, of course, can hear that on ESPN 98.7 with former New York Giants legend Brandon Jacobs. I don't know who's RB1 in that backfield, but I'll let you guys debate that, I guess, on the radio side of things. I'm curious. Are you more willing to potentially give up this future first? Again, you said more so Matthew Stafford potentially than Kirk Cousins, but nonetheless, are you more willing to give it up because we all kind of had already written it off? It's like one of those gifts at Christmas, the fruitcake, you send it out and it gets returned to sender. You didn't expect it back, and now you have it. You're like, well, I didn't expect to have this. Now I'm playing with a little free money here. Is that the interpretation of that first?
It's really only out of desperation. You look at the AFC, right? Like everyone coming into the year rightfully said this was going to be a loaded conference. Now, given it's only been 2 weeks, but I mean, there are a bunch of question marks now, right? Like the Chiefs' offense didn't look great last week against the Jags. Speaking of the Jags, a lot of people were high on them. They haven't looked phenomenal through the first 2 weeks. They barely beat the Colts, and then they scored, 9 points against Kansas City. Cincinnati's got an issue now with Joe Burrow and his calf. Like, the Ravens have been winning, but, Lamar doesn't look great in that new passing offense with Monken. So there's just a lot of questions. All the Chargers are 0-2. Brandon Staley might get fired. So I'm just looking at it, and I was having a conversation with one of my friends who's a Jet fan last night. He's like, yo, this was the year, man. Like, everything was lining up this season. So I look at it, and I say, if there's a chance to still salvage that, again, Kirk Cousins might not be the guy just because I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with him. I still would trade for him. I don't know if I'm giving up a future first, especially because he's on an expiring contract. But if Stafford continues to show that he's the man, I might entertain that. And yes, is it about, is it about like desperation? To me, yes, it's 1,000% desperation. I just have no idea what the future holds. And as much as I love Aaron and I want to see him come back, he's gonna be 40, fresh off of a torn Achilles. Just a couple months ago, he was 90% retired. So just think about the journey and the path to him getting back to where we thought he could be when he was winning MVPs. It's gonna be hard. So you can't really, as a Jet fan, say you're at apex optimism level when it comes to that. I'm just looking at trying to salvage the season, and if that's the direction they have to go in, then why not?
Gosh, Ty, you're just such a smooth operator. You're going to my next point. It's like you do this for a living or something. And let me get to that. So, Aaron Rodgers. So, this is a guy that is going to even try to come back during the playoff. That seems somewhat far-fetched, but a good piece of meat for him to chase on the treadmill to kind of keep him motivated as he's going through it. But nonetheless, he wants to come back, and all these grandiose statements on the Pat McAfee show. In your mind, do you just kind of put that on the back burner? Hey, Aaron, we love you. We'll worry about that in 2024. It's all about right now, and I will do whatever it takes right now to take advantage of this window. Because, for instance, Matthew Stafford, who is not on an expiring deal and has, future years and future money and all that kind of jazz, would you be fine just getting that guy in here and then, hey, we'll worry about all that hoopla basically after the season and later and figure it out? Is that what I'm picking up what you're putting down there?
I think out of respect for Aaron, because of how he's handled this entire situation, because, like, think about the last time a marquee star was like the Jets. I want to go play there, and you have to respect what he's done for you so far. And I get he's only played 4 snaps, but leading up to that, he was the leader of the locker room, he's the leader of the team, unquestionably, and he had handled everything with decorum and with the proper respect. So you want to have a conversation with him to see, what he feels about the situation. I'd imagine he is of the mindset he wants Zach here because, this is someone he's trying to mentor and have take over for him. But you got to have a serious conversation with Aaron. And if he's on board with it, I think you do entertain the idea of trading for a guy like Stafford. Again, we don't even know if he'd be available. I would imagine McVay's like, hell no. He's like, remember, like after they won the Super Bowl, there was a question of whether or not he was going to retire. So like this guy might not be in there for the long run. He wants to continue to try to win. And Kupp's going to get back. They got this new receiver. What's his last name?
Puka Nacua.
Yeah, this guy's been balling. And then, you got Aaron Donald there. So maybe, just maybe, they can, sneak into the playoffs in a NFC that looks weak. But Yeah, man, I'd be all over it. You have to salvage this. You can't. It's 15 weeks left, man. 15 games left. You can't just punt on that if Zach looks like he's incapable, which is what we talked about last season. Like the fact that this guy, and can we talk about this? The fact that the number 2 overall pick, not 10 years ago, not just 2 years ago, he was the number 2 overall pick. This
Hmm.
guy can't play. Like that is an embarrassment. Like the organization should be embarrassed. The fact that they drafted someone who now 2 years after he was brought to the team is so incapable of playing. We have to get up here and have a conversation about trading a future first round pick for Kirk Cousins or Matt Stafford to try to salvage your season. Because a guy that you drafted with the second pick is that bad.
Yeah, that's about right. So I think I know where you're going based on your last answer, but nonetheless, I'll ask it anyway. So this conversation that we just had about Kirk Cousins or Matthew Stafford, obviously that is multiple weeks down the road because in theory, for either of those to be possible, both of those teams have to be out. So we're probably, Zach Wilson's got the keys to the car at least probably through the bye week, which by the way is coming up through week 7. So he's got still a handful more games here. I'm curious. What did you make of Zach Wilson? So the first game, it's kind of hard to evaluate. He was thrown in there. He wasn't given first team reps. He just got to figure it out, and they won. So shout out to Zach. Now, week 2, they kind of had a full week. I know it was a short week, but a quote unquote full week of prep to get ready for the game. I kind of liked what I saw from Zach being there live in Dallas. I mean, the 3 picks, obviously, no bueno. Didn't like that, but man, I thought the kid showed a little chutzpah, was running around out there. At the end of the first half, I was like, wow, that's as sharp as Zach's look. He just believed in what he saw. He was just dealing out there. Now, obviously, they lose the game and they got tripled up. Again, they lost 30-10, but I saw a little something from Zach that I'm like, okay, I see it, baby. We're 1-1. We got Zach Wilson. We can do this thing. Ty?
Now, I think that is an indictment of Zach actually because it shows you that the standard has become so low. Like we've extinguished the high expectations. So now we're kind of in a situation where we look at 3 interceptions and we're like, yeah, I know he threw 3 interceptions, but other than that, I thought the biggest takeaway, like if their biggest takeaway from that game was Zach struggled and like he cost them the game, I thought they were wrong. Like clearly the Cowboys defense was tremendous. The offensive line was just in shambles the entire night. Michael Parsons looked like he was playing up against little kids out there. And I thought the Jet defense to some degree was exposed. Mike McCarthy called a hell of a game with those screens, those short passes. I thought he was fantastic. As far as Zach is concerned, I mean, look, the first half they were competitive. It was a 1-score game. He had Garrett Wilson to end the first half in the end zone and just got tipped at the line of scrimmage. So who knows what that could have done as far as changing the outcome of the game. Sauce, man, that's a pick you got to make, bro. Like that is you talk about 85 Bears. So remember the CJ Mosley interception in week 1 that he dropped. He's got to play. Sauce has to make that play. It's now 14-13, and Dallas starts to feel a little bit of pressure. Your defense is now, hungry and salivating over the idea of, look, if we get them off the field, get our offense back on the field while we're up, who knows what can happen. And by the way, the NFL yesterday announcing the John Franklin Myers, like, come on.
I knew that in the moment. I just have to say, so like it happens, right? I'm at the game and I turned all these Cowboys people around me. I'm like, there is no freaking way. He hit him above the knee. Like, there's no way. And they're like, man, sorry, that's a the passer. And then Saleh yesterday, that passionate speech ahead of the 2:00 call with the NFL about that. He said, I can't coach any differently. That was as clean and as legal as it gets. And then the NFL comes out after. And that's dramatic. That was 3rd down when Dak was hit. And then they're like, automatic first down. They got 8 points on the drive. There was the touchdown 2-point conversion. So you just think about those 3 plays. Sure, the Cowboys kicked the Jets' teeth down the curb. You change those 3 plays, which I don't think is like cherry picking. Those are all 3 legitimate things that shoulda, coulda, woulda happened. We're talking about a different thing right now. Ugh.
Yeah, to me it was just, man, I was angry watching that, and I'm not someone who's big on like blaming officiating. The Cowboys were the better team throughout,
Sure,
but
yeah,
that's a game-changing play, and Sauce has to make that pick to put the Jets up on top. As far as Zach, again, first half I thought he was good. I loved seeing him run, and because I think there are some yards to be had. Like I would love to see him use his athletic ability. Like this guy, you look at him, he should be able to run and pick up some first down and pick up some yards. Got to learn how to slide better. But I love what I saw from him in the first half. Second half, it kind of came apart. And once like the team is trailing and they go down multiple scores, there's no faith in Zach being able to bring them back.
So we'll see. Again, this Jets New England Patriots game is coming up. This is the Jets demons and quite frankly, Zach Wilson's demons. I feel like if the Jets lose this game, all hell can break loose potentially because then you got week 4 Kansas City Chiefs, you have week 6 Eagles, and the week 5 road trip to Denver is no slouch either. So you have all these games, and all of a sudden, I feel like the season's hanging in the balance. That's crazy to say in week 3. You beat the Patriots, you give yourself a lot of faith. Zach Wilson gets unbelievable confidence for finally quelling those demons. That's something I hope that we can see. So, Ty, we'll end on this. What is your prediction for Jets Patriots coming up on Sunday?
I think the Jets are going to win on Sunday. I feel like the defense is going to show up in ways it didn't last week against the Cowboys. This Pat's offense, I mean, it's not very good. They don't have a ton of skill position players that scare you. Bourne was really good in week 1 against the Eagles. Stevenson, he's going to make some noise out of the backfield. But I just don't think that Mac Jones, when it all comes down to it, is very good. So I think the Jets are going to have some fun on defense. And then offensively, Zach's going to give you some turnovers. But they'll find a way. They'll find a way to squeak it out, man. I think the Jets win this game.
All right. Well, I can only hope so. And no more roughing the passer because remember the Michael Carter, the second pick 6 in the first Patriots game. Whoop, JFM, bloop. This kid wiped those points off the board. I mean, come on.
That was JFM again. It was another bad call. That was a terrible call. That ended the game last year.
That
would have
did.
ended the game.
So let's hope for none of that. So I love it, Ty. I also think it's going to happen. No, go ahead.
It's 2 Pats corners. Jones, both their corners. Jones, questionable. They're on the injury report. So, that if they're hurt, then that opens up the game for Lazard and Garrett Wilson.
100%, and they have some injuries on the offensive line. So there's a lot of injuries for the Patriots. It believes, by the way, for all those, we do this every day, but all the Jets injuries, it sounds like it's because of the 90 plays they had to play against the Cowboys. So Saleh giving them a bunch of extra rest this week. So it seems like everybody's going to be good. We'll wait for Zerline. Today's Thursday. We should hear on Zerline tomorrow. So we'll see on the kicking game for that. Ty, you're one of the best in the gosh darn business, baby. Thank you for gracing us with your presence, my man.
Thank you for having me, man. Look forward to talking to you next week, bro.
Guys, follow him on Twitter, X, or whatever the hell we're calling that bird app nowadays. Ty D. Butler, superstar here on the program. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:30. Take care.